Oh, yeah, people are, it's all good, girl.
Well,
All
how's
good.
mine?
I mean,
It says, please wait for the host to start this meeting.
oh, goodness.
You gotta
Did y'all go to your
log
main
off and
email?
log back on today.
The one that was
Leave
just
meeting.
sent?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're all muted, yes?
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
Morning.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Everything's good.
Thank you. Good morning.
Gotta always have something go wrong with technology.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, let me hear your mom.
All right. Hope everybody's doing good on this fine Wednesday morning. If you will go ahead on your chat, scroll down on the bottom, you'll see the little chat box. If you don't have a chat box, you might have a little button that says more. If you have a little, a lot of buttons down there, click on that chat box and put your name and what school you are from. Sorry, it took us a few minutes. We were having some technical difficulties this morning and our link was not working. If you will go ahead and sign in for me and we will get started here actually pretty quickly since we are a few minutes late. For those of you that don't know me, I am Wendy Hagerton, your technology coach. And we're gonna very quickly introduce ourselves if today is your first day for our training, and then we will get started.
Hi, I'm Angela Baeza, and I'm one of your instructional coaches. Thank you for being here this morning with us.
And I'm Kathy Klepper, and I agree with Angela. We're so glad you're here with us this morning. It's a couple days in a row for some of you, so thank you for hanging out with us.
I'm Carrie Pruitt. I'm one of your instructional coaches, and like the other lady said, thank you for being here today. We're so glad you're here.
Hi, I'm Skylar Kirkpatrick. I'm going to be an instructional coach for next year. I'm so excited that all of y'all are here.
All right, so glad you're here. In case you don't know that, after we've all told you that, we're just great to get to see your little faces on the side of our computer screen. You know how you feel when you see your kiddos' faces? Well, that's how we feel when we see yours. So we're glad you're here. So today we're going to talk about the K-12, and they are K-12 district non-negotiables. And I'm going to, so this morning we're going to talk about collaborative conversations and anchor charts. And then this afternoon we're going to talk about story arcs. So I'm going to give you a little history on how the district made decisions to go with these three non-negotiables. So in 2017, I don't know if it was Mr. Parks or if it was all of cabinet, they looked at John Hattie's meta-analysis, and a meta-analysis is just a study of a lot of studies, because you know you can read one study and think, oh, that study supports this or that study supports that, but when you find a multitude of studies that support the same thing, then you know that that's what you're going to want to go with. And so basically when they looked at John Hattie's research, they found out what really works with kids. How as teachers do we get the most bang for our buck? Because they told us everything works, but we want to use the things that work the absolute most. So if you look at the slide that's in front of you right now, the three district non-negotiables, and again, they're K-12. So this is what's super exciting about saying K-12 is the kids will be exposed to it in elementary, and then they'll continue with it in junior high, and then in high school. So it'll get even better. They'll get even more familiar. It'll become, it'll become even a better strategy and better practice just because they're able to use it over and over. It's not something that they're having to learn brand new every year. It's something that they continue with. And so if you look under three district non-negotiables, it says visible learning. That's super exciting because these three non-negotiables are visible. And when we say visible, we mean visible to students, we mean visible to teachers, visible to principals, visible to parents, visible to anybody who walks in your room. So you walk in a classroom, you can immediately see what is going on academically in that room. And that's just a good thing. We want people to realize we're busting it. Come see what we're doing because we're doing great. We're doing great things. So if you look at the first one, class discussion. So like I said, the three are class discussion, concept mapping, and metacognitive strategies. The first one was class discussion that yield high benefits. And so for the Hobbs schools, we chose collaborative conversations. And you guys know this, but collaborative conversations, that's just allowing kiddos to learn from other kiddos. And that's smart on our part. We don't want to be the only teacher in the classroom. If we have 25 kids, we want 26 teachers, us and all of our kiddos. So when we have collaborative conversations, that's exactly what we're doing. It's just smart, and we want to be smart teachers. And then look at concept mapping. That was another one that yielded high benefits. And so within the Hobbs schools, we chose anchor charts. And that allows kids and teachers to organize our thoughts. And we all remember things a lot better when they're organized. When they're scattered, not so much. But this allows for organization. So it's one that gets a lot of good feedback, and it helps kiddos remember what we want them to remember. So we're super excited to get to share about anchor charts with you. And then the third non-negotiable would be metacognitive strategies. And the one that we chose within the Hobbs schools is Story Arc. And I'll talk to you about that this afternoon. But Story Arc, so research says we slow down reading to speed up comprehension. And that's exactly what the Story Arc does. It makes kids think about their thinking, and that is when true comprehension occurs. So we're super excited about these three non-negotiables. We know a lot of you know a lot, but we're really hopeful that today, when we share what we know, maybe we'll be able to share something with you that maybe you weren't aware of, or maybe you were aware of it and you just forgot. So we're really glad you're here.
Jelly?
All right.
Christian? Christian?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want the little biscuits with jelly?
Yes, ma'am.
They're hot, so you gotta be careful, okay? Ooh. I'm gonna get yours, babe. All right, I'm about to slow.
Can y'all hear me?
Now they can hear you.
Okay, I'm so sorry. All right, let's start again here. It's been a morning of some technical difficulties. Now we can. Okay, good. All right, so let me start again there. So this is an example of a collaborative conversation anchor chart that we've created, but just how important collaborative conversations are in our classrooms. You know, we nowadays see that this is not happening a lot with our kids at home, even with us as adults. You know, we sit on our phones, and instead of turning and having this discussion with people, we are on our phones. And so it is so important as us as educators to start, you know, promoting how important it is to have a face-to-face discussion in our classroom, collaborative conversations, meaningful, purposeful, and we have to teach our kids how that happens and what it should look like. So this anchor chart we created is, like, again, just an example, and what it needs to, what you can, but before I even get into the anchor chart, what do you know already about collaborative conversations? If you don't mind just typing in your chat box there, what you already know about collaborative conversations. And if you'd like, you can unmute yourself if you just want to share out what you already know. And I know we've given these trainings before, so this is just a refresher for you. Share out what you have and what you know. Kids talk and share ideas with each other. Look, speak, listen. Collaborative conversations accelerate language development. Ask questions, really good. Ask questions. Encourage students to learn from one another. Share ideas. Yes, a chance to hear others. Think, pair, share. Great. Okay, I see some great things coming up here on our chat. Yes, exactly. So it does. If you know what I'm reading here, it takes the attention off the teacher and puts it on the kids, allows the kids to kind of take charge of their understanding, of their learning. And if you were in our training yesterday, I spoke about, you know, how what things we do in our classroom that help us remember and learn what we've been given. And one of those was 70% of what we discuss with others will help us remember what we've learned. So 70%, I mean, that's high. And there was many others that I incorporate discussion, teaching, you know, working with peers and being able to teach a peer was 95%. So, and that happens through discussion, through collaborative conversations, even when you're peer-to-peer tutoring. So huge piece that I know Hobbs Schools, we've had it in place for a few years already, and it's just a big piece that we need to continue doing. And I know a lot of you are rocking it because we've been into classrooms where you guys are rocking it. So this little anchor chart that we created, like, again, is just an example. I know it's going to look different for each grade. Kinder, you might just have a little bit more picture than a lot of words. In the video you're going to watch that we're going to show you, that has no pictures. It's all words. For high school, that might be something that you're just like, yeah, I'm not into the drawings, but we're going to give them the words. A lot of you can create hand motions to remind them of what we need to do when we're in collaborative conversations, like point to your eyes. We have to have eye contact. So this one that we have, it says, look at your partner and take turns. Ask purposeful questions in your discussion. Wait and give think time. Be a good listener. Take notes. For kinder, you might, or those primary grades, first grade, I might not start with taking notes, but your upper grades, you can take notes.
You might have like used indoor voice or something like that.
Yes, you could use indoor voice, like Kathy said. Have that as part of your thing, as part of it. Maybe set even like where you're going to share what your partner says when we finish our collaborative conversation instead of what you said. It's another way. So again, this is just an example of an anchor chart that we've created. You make it yours. Next slide, sorry. All right, so again, as we've said in our other trainings, you know, we really try our best to whatever we're going to roll out is research-based. I mean, there's some good research on it. And with the help of WestEd, we really believe they always have helped us when we pull out strategies or roll out strategies to give us the research on that as well. And we do our own research as well. So what research says is the ratio of teacher to student talk is 70-30. That's what we're seeing, but we're trying to shift that. What we want to see, and like I said, I think Hobbs Schools, we're going in that direction and we're moving in that direction. We should be 30% teacher talk, 70% student talk. Because we know the students that talk the most learn the most, but it has to be purposeful discussion. And how do we create that purposeful discussion? Us as teachers have to give those questions that promote thinking, that promote that discussion that is purposeful. And so that 5 to 10% of teacher talk triggers more conversation. Again, us teachers are the ones that provide those opportunities for our students. We guide those discussions based on the questions we are asking. We want those questions that are going to stretch their thinking and give us information as teachers. You know, we have to get in the middle of that. We have to be in the, like Kathy says, in the big fat middle of that discussion. So we know I mean, it's a formative piece of an assessment. And how simple is that? You just go in, lean in, listen to what they're discussing. If you hear some, you know, way off stuff going on, you know, you're going to have to bring it back. And let's because you know, we hear practice makes permanent, right, Kathy? But what if it's not the right thing? We want it to be permanent. Right. We have to go in there, move them in the right direction, because we don't want them practicing what is not the right information or what we want them to get. So, and less is more. You know, we've been in trainings, and hopefully not our trainings here at the Hobbs Schools, but we've been in trainings where they just go out there and wah, 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 and after a while, like, you just space out. Like, you're thinking, what am I going to cook for dinner? What am I going to, so this happens, and it's based on our attention span. And so for our babies, our students, that's based on their age. And so what research has what we've looked up and we've Googled, it says 2 to 3 minutes per year of their age is usually about, and then you reach a cap,
2 to 3 times.
2 to 3 times
per year. Uh-huh.
per their year.
Mhm.
So it's 2 to 3 times their year
Right.
of age. So, okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sorry, I just said that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind as teachers. You know, the younger they are, we're going to have to give them some of those quick little, hey, let's have a turn and talk, and push it even further. Let's have a collaborative conversation. And if you need to provide sentence stems, you do that for those little ones, or even those adult or EL learners. We will have to support them in those. And so, yeah, again, I mean, it's just so important that we roll this out. And Kat, he's going to speak to you a little more on how, oh, it's me still. I'm trying to pawn it off on Kathy already. Sorry, y'all. All right, our next slide. Oh my gosh, this is a good slide, y'all. Sorry, this is one of my favorite slides. I actually was like, I want this slide up. Okay, so this slide, I mean, spoke huge to me. I mean, it was a big thing when I saw this, because, as educators, we're molding that brain.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to be able to see what's really happening in the brain when we are in our instruction. And so, and there was a lot of medical terms in this, but we just kind of gave you the basic. This is what it means. When students are reading, this part of the brain is activated, as you see in the first top left corner there. And then when you're in speaking, this is the amount of the brain that is activated. In listening, but check out collaborative conversation. Woo! That brain is lit up. That's I'm lit right there. Yeah, so that is what we want to see, and like I said, all of it is important. We have to work all parts of the brain. I mean, you have to have reading, you have to have speaking, you have to have listening, but then when we push into those collaborative conversations, how much learning is happening when they're having those discussions and having to think through whatever it is you prompted them to think for. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. Just imagine when they're having collaborative, like close your eyes when you're in your classroom and you have them doing those collaborative conversations. This is what you're going to see. This is what's happening in their brain. I thought that's pretty cool. Now I could see their brains all lit up. It's like these light bulbs just going off. So I thought this was such a cool slide to be able just to remember what's going on in the brain at this time.
You're right, Angela. This really speaks volumes. If you look at the 4 areas, and then, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer.
It is another no-brainer.
Another no-brainer.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was a question. Do you know what the rest of the white stands for? I don't, but we can try to figure out what the rest of that. I know, like I said, there was a lot of medical terms because they actually
it basically talked about the part of the brain. The white, originally, the original slide we looked at, the white talked about the specific part of the brain.
Yes.
And that's what was lit up. Those were medical terms, and we thought basically you might not.
And
be
yeah,
interested
so
in
it would
that.
say, like, in reading, the frontal cortex was lit.
Uh-huh.
So we will send you, we can even send Vicki, we could send you the original where it actually has all the
Absolutely,
medical
sure.
terms. If you'd like that, we'll send that to you.
Mhm.
Great question. All right, so the next slide we have going is how to be successful when utilizing collaborative conversations. All right, so number 1 here, it says physical space. Okay, I know we're in a little bit of a challenging time, so this might be a little bit of a challenge when we get back to our classrooms in August. So, I mean, like I said, I think we just have to try to make it work with the understanding of social distancing. And then once I hope, pray that everything gets back to normal, it's going to be a lot easier to provide that physical space that lends itself to collaborative conversations. So I think we just have to be patient with that piece of our collaborative conversation. Modeling examples and non-examples. Kathy, I know you do a great job when you've modeled with the example and not example with your student, like you have them come up and you want to kind of speak a little on that?
Well, we make the anchor charts together, which of course that's super, super important. And then it's so fun with the kiddos. So you'll have a kiddo come up and you'll whisper in their ear and you'll tell them, okay, we're going to model a non-example for eye contact. So we're gonna have a collaborative conversation. You start asking me some questions. I'm gonna be looking all around the room. So I don't want to throw you, but I want you to know what I'm doing. And it's so cute because the other kids are watching and they're looking at the anchor chart and they're trying to figure out which rule is she breaking. And it's just really, really fun because it gets them paying attention to, wow, eye contact really is important because, you know, whatever Angela's trying to talk to Kathy and she's looking all around the room and she's checking this out and that out and they see how disrespectful and that's not acceptable. And so it's so fun. Examples are great. Showing them what it should look like is super important. But it's so important. It's so much fun to show them what it should not look like. And I think almost we learn the most from the things we don't want to do and the ways we don't want to be like. So make sure that you know, once you've taught this, you show them examples, but then you also show them non-examples. And it's just a whole lot of fun. So
Thank you for sharing that. Yes. And managing, you know, you again have to be up in the fat middle of this, you know, redirecting if you need to redirect, because we as adults as well do it. We're supposed to discuss something. We start talking about, hey, so last night, guess what? You know, so kids, oh, what are we doing for recess? So you have to be right in the middle to hear that out and listen to that discussion. Make sure it's on task. It's answering whatever it is that they need to be discussing, and manage that. And so, and having that physical space, having that modeling is all part of helping you manage collaborative conversations in your classroom. And assessing and the opportunities for share outs. Practice makes permanent again, you know, so you want to be in there listening, assessing formatively, are they getting what they need? And then opportunities for share out, have them share what their partner says is a great way of really having them listen to their partners, practice those listening skills. I mean, collaborative conversation is going to support so many of even those foundational skills. I know for kinder, y'all have listening comprehension is big in kinder. So,
and we would have them, Angela, like the kids we would collaborate on, I'd give them a question. And then when they finished, I would have them repeat what their neighbor said to make sure they were actually listening and comprehending what each other said. So it was really helpful.
You know, just thinking and like you guys are doing this in kinder and how by the time and they get to even high school and you're just building on and just how strong that vocabulary and that just being able to become an adult in society and be able to have a conversation and listening to somebody. So, so great. Thanks for sharing that. All right. So some share outs of successes that you have experienced when you have utilized collaborative conversations. If you don't mind, you can share this out. You can type it, unmute, share out some of the things, some of your successes with collaborative conversation.
I know it's going on because I know when we're in the buildings and we are walking down the halls, we see so much collaboration among the kiddos. So it's definitely happening.
Pre-partnering. Awesome. Yes. And Melanie, I think I've seen some of this happen at Coronado. The peanut butter jelly, I remember seeing that happening over in first grade over there. And I thought that was so cool when I found out y'all had kind of pre-partnered them doing peanut butter jelly, tint up. Yes. Yes, students learn from each other. They develop those social skills. Yeah, your shy students come out, out of their shell with, especially when it's just you and you and I, you know, we're just talking. I feel comfortable.
Builds their self-confidence.
Yes. Don't like to talk in whole group. Yeah, I was probably one of those at first. I didn't want to talk in whole group. Yeah. Well, and especially as an L learner, I was an L learner. And so, you know, you're not quite confident yet, but I'm confident enough to be able to talk to just a single person when I'm having a turn and talk.
Well, and you think even as adults, if we're in a big training, I know I wouldn't say anything if I was a participant in a large training, but I would if I was at a smaller table or if I was working with, you know, just a couple of people. So I think even when we as adults know that that's an issue with us, it absolutely is an issue with kiddos.
Exactly. How often do you switch your peanut butter jelly? That's a great question. I honestly, when I was in the classroom, I didn't, you know, I've learned so much in this position. I didn't have peanut butter and jelly. So Melanie, if you want to reach out to Andrea Kennedy, I think asked that, and maybe share out some of the ways
Every
that
9
you've
weeks, I
every
think
9
she
weeks.
said.
every 9 weeks.
Mhm.
Okay, every 9 weeks. Thank you.
Mhm.
Striving students are able to share out students' work.
Love that.
Yeah, if they aren't sure how, yes, I was retelling. Okay, great ideas, understanding different perspectives. Yes, oh, and that is so important, especially in our society now, to understand different perspectives.
Good job, JP.
Yes, so good. I mean, we have to. How to respectfully disagree with somebody
Uh-huh.
is so important.
Never heard of peanut butter and jelly. Please share.
Okay, so peanut butter and jelly is you kind of already have your kids determined, like Kathy, you're gonna be peanut butter,
Okay.
and Carrie, you're the jelly. You guys are partners.
Mhm.
So whenever I ask you to collaborate with your partner, you know who your jelly partner is, and peanut butter, you know who your peanut butter, you know who your jelly is,
Mhm.
and jelly, you know who your peanut butter is.
Mhm.
And so when I ask you to collaborate, I'll say peanut butter, you speak first, and jelly will respond.
Yeah.
So they know who starts speaking first, and that's something I think, especially for your little babies, when you're trying to train them on.
Cookies and milk. We do cookies and milk.
Okay, Carrie's sharing cookies and milk. Cookies, you speak first. Milk, you're listening.
Oh, chips and salsa for New
Ah,
Mexico.
Chips
there
and
you
salsa.
go.
Yeah, make it fun. Yes, exactly. And tint up is one that I had seen where to keep them focused, those little ones, they put their hand in hand, and they make a little tent, and they have that discussion. It keeps them here, it's you and I, we're having this discussion. So.
Yeah.
Didn't eat breakfast. Sorry, I'm making y'all hungry. All right.
So no eggs and bacon? No eggs and bacon?
Okay, great. Thank you guys for sharing. Lemon and salt. And well, I guess we
guys
can.
are too fun.
That's
Okay.
We'll do lemon and salt next time. Maybe we'll do it together one.
I guess if you want to have a collaborative conversation in a group of 3, you can always add an extra item to that.
Oh my gosh. But do you hear what we're doing? We're having fun. That's what we want
Yes.
kids to do. We want it to be fun. So it's good to bring in that.
Yeah,
little
that
element.
discussion. All right, so we're going to show you a video and this again is a video we accessed from Wonders. As you look at it, this is an example of how she set up her established those collaborative conversations. You might tweak it to fit your classroom. I know for middle school, high school, it might look a little different. You might not have to have it. So, for the babies, you amp it up a little bit. The conversations could be a lot more in depth and with not so much modeling, if you might not need that.
Well, hopefully they've gotten to practice it all the way in elementary. If we do our job when they get to middle school,
In high school,
they'll
be
have
good.
it down. Yeah.
Students need frequent modeling and practice to learn how to participate effectively in collaborative conversations. In this clip, you will see excerpts from an activity in which students interview one another about their goals in life. Kathy Bumgardner carefully structures the activity to include opportunities for sharing and listening, while building an understanding of collaborative conversations through frequent guided practice and modeling. She posts and refers to charts with collaborative conversation guidelines for extra support.
With Ellen Ochoa in mind and what a great person she was and those things that she did. What was her goal, by the way? Turn and tell your partners, what was Ellen Ochoa's goal? Cindy, what was her goal?
And I know her goal was to become an astronaut because it said in the text that Ellen Ochoa trained in college. She went to science and math classes, and she liked to study.
So was it easy? Did she just instantly become an astronaut? No, she didn't. She had to go through lots of steps and do lots of things, okay? So on our research project, we want to be able to brainstorm some goals that we could achieve. So this is what I want you to be thinking about. I want you to discuss some goals with yourself, okay? I want you, with your partners, we're going to do just some informal discussion. See if you can brainstorm some ways and some things that you can think of that could be goals. And my question to you is, what would you like to be doing by the time you graduate?
I would like to be a very good student at school. Graduate college. I would like to be a good person and get a good job. I would like to be a teacher, a very good teacher.
So what were some of the goals that you came up with? This is what I want you to do now. As at a whole table, I want you two, were you two partners? Would you share with the other two at your table? See, just kind of name them and see what you came up with. At this table, 6 of you here. What did you come up with? What were things you came up with? Y'all talk first.
Be an author and illustrator. I want to be a professional. I want to be a military. I want to be an illustrator.
I heard some great goals. I want to be in the military. I want to be a teacher. I want to be an author. I want to be an illustrator. I want to be, I heard somebody say I want to be a gymnast. When you come down to it, if that's what you decide you're going to do, that's what you would do a research project on. You would be able to go and really find out more about that topic. So this is what I want you to do. We're going to practice what this little interview thing is going to sound like, okay? What kinds of questions would you like to ask me? Could you think of?
How are you going to achieve your goal?
That was great. So some of the questions you want to ask also, like the ones I just asked, what is your goal in life? What would you like to study in college? And then she says,
To be an author and illustrator.
and then how would you, see, I would say, well, how would you achieve that? Now see how you can begin to really tell me some things and I can take some notes? You're going to be asking those questions. Now you're going to interview a partner. And remember, what do we do when we talk in collaborative pairs? We ask questions. We listen to our partners. We're also what? Great what? Listen to your partner's answers. Be a great listener, which we always talk about. But when we're talking about an effective interview, did we look at each other when we were talking? Stand up. Let's show them again. Bring your questions with you. If she's going to be asking me questions, what's she going to be doing? Looking at me. Would you come be her partner? Show them what that looks like. If she were your partner, what would she be doing? Show me what that would look like. And you would still have your card with you, but who's talking first? She's going to ask you a question. Go ahead.
What is your goal? To be a firefighter. How are you going to achieve your goal? To study hard. Will you try your best? Yes. Will you persevere and never give up? Yes. Do you want to study science in college? Yes.
So now, did you hear his answers? He has some straight answers, but this is the other thing I want you to think about. Whenever he says, for instance, go back, you said you want to be a firefighter. What could you say then?
Why?
Why? What inspired you to want to be a firefighter? So even though you have questions written down, can you ask other questions?
Yes.
Let me repeat it one more time. Even though you've got questions written down, can you also ask other questions based on what the answer is?
Yes.
Great job. So that's what we're going to be doing.
And another reason why I would never give up is because if I give up, I won't be able to achieve my life goal, and I want to be able to go as far as I can. Why did you want to be a gymnast? I wanted to be a gymnast because ever since I heard of Shawn Johnson and how far she's gone, she's inspired me to do gymnastics and to never give up. And ever since I've seen her work and I've seen how far she's gone, I've seen that she can do extraordinary things that older kids can't do.
Okay, so what were some positive takeaways that you saw in the video? You can just unmute yourself and share them out if that's faster. But what were some things that you saw that you thought, yeah, that is definitely showing us some great learning? Come on, guys. What y'all see? What were some things that you saw?
Very supportive.
Yes.
Future model.
Yes. Good.
Yeah, Kagan has a lot of those. I know.
Kagan gets you going, and yeah, that's how I learned.
Modeling.
I was impressed with
Students
the
were
two little
engaged.
boys that were
Absolutely.
talking about what they wanted
Yeah.
to be when they grew up.
Building on listening, yes. They were building on listening skills and building on the responses. They were definitely paying attention. Yes, personal experiences. They were learning. Again, kiddos get to be teachers, and that's exciting for them. It involves all the students. Excellent. Open-ended questions. Yes, very good. That really gets you thinking. That's higher level. Yes, absolutely have to have that. Okay. Right. All right. Cool deal. Thank you, you guys. You shared a lot of those, and I feel like I doubt there's anyone that's truly tried collaborative conversations and hasn't seen a lot of benefits, because it feels like it's just, like I said, it's research based. It's definitely what works. It gets us the best bang for our buck when we're working with kiddos. So it's something we absolutely want to do. So if you'll look at this next slide, it says steps for selling collaborative conversation to your students, because guys, we don't want to be boring. No, boring is not who we want to be, because putting our kiddos to sleep is not something we want them to remember from our classrooms. We know that they've been doing this for several years. So it may not be new, but maybe you can add some novelty to it in your classroom. Like when we were talking earlier, maybe you've never done peanut butter and jelly or chips and salsa or whatever all the other options y'all were talking about. But make it fun, whatever, let your kids come up with those. I always think it's most fun when kids get to share in the process. So let them come up with, how do you want to identify your peers? What do y'all think? And let them come up with whatever they think is fun. But again, you have to make it a big deal. You can't just be, okay, we're going to collaborate again. I know you've been doing it the last 3 years. We're going to continue. No, you make it, like in my class, collaborative conversations are huge, boys and girls. Do you know what collaborative conversations do? You get to be a teacher. It isn't just about me being the teacher, it's about you. So you definitely want to sell it. You want to make them excited. You want them to think, yeah, I've done it before, but maybe it looks a little bit different in Miss Baez's class or in Miss Pruitt's class. So tell your students that not all kiddos are ready for collaborative conversations, and they aren't. And if your kiddos, if you try collaborative conversations and it's not successful, if you have it with the babies, then you reel it back in. And you reteach until they're ready to be successful. Because collaborative conversations are incredibly purposeful if you follow the norms, if they're looking at one another, if they're answering questions, if they're asking purposeful questions, if they're following the rules that you set up as a class. So you want to make sure that you stick with those. And it may look a little rough in the beginning, but you definitely want to know what your goal is. So like I said, define collaborative conversations with your kiddos. Maybe they don't even, we've been doing it, but I don't know, has everybody ever sat down and told them what a collaborative conversation means? Collaborative, that's when we work together. Guys, that's what we're doing. Conversation, that's when we talk to one another. It's cool for them to realize those are big old words. I think we've used turn and talk a lot, but at this point, after doing it 3 years, I think we're ready to use the big words. And I think it's fun when you tell kids, in the younger grades, they talk, turn and talk, but you guys, you're ready for collaborative conversations. So like I said, make them feel like this is a privilege. It's an honor to get to have collaborative conversations. It's what big kids do. It's what they do in the upper grades. You have to be really smart to have a collaborative conversation, because you have to be able to talk and share whatever it is you're discussing. So, and like Angela said, and it's so true, research proves it. The kids that talk the most learn the most. So, and of course it's got to be purposeful, but you tell your kiddos, we're in school to get smart, right guys? So the best way to get smart is to do a lot of purposeful talking. So be a great partner when you're collaborating. Learn from our friends. Like I said, I think every kid loves being told they're a teacher. Kids think they're the kids and we're the teachers, but guess what? They are the teachers and they teach. I don't know about y'all, but I've learned a lot from my kids, and I think kids learn a lot from one another. So I think that's exciting, and it's just smart. Mr. Parks tells us all the time, teach smarter, not harder. That's smarter, letting your kids learn from one another. When you're getting started, if you haven't done this, even if you have, I think showing the Wonders video that we just showed you, and there's different ones for different grades, shows purposeful, successful collaborative conversations. So I think that's really helpful to set them up, because again, what do we talk about the first day? Model. Well, using those videos, there's a lot of modeling going on in there. So the kids know their expectations. And that's what, sometimes we as teachers don't make the expectations clear. So we have to make sure that we do that. Make an anchor chart to support collaborative conversations. And Angela showed you one that we made at the very beginning. Guys, anchor charts for collaborative conversations are going to look different in every single person's room. They really, really are, because you want your kids, if it was me, I would show them that video, I would talk to them about it, and then I would say, okay, based on what you just saw, what are our norms going to be for collaborative conversation? What are we going to start with? Oh, eye contact. Yeah, that's kind of important to look at the person that's talking to you, Oh, stay on topic. Don't start talking about recess in the middle of discussing Ellen Ochoa. Little things like that really help them to understand. So you definitely want to make a collaborative conversation anchor chart with your kiddos. You want to hang it in the classroom. You want to refer to it constantly, especially if you're doing it and it's at the beginning of your classroom. Because even if they've had collaborative conversations for several years prior, it's probably going to look a little bit different in your classroom. And if it does, that's going to make the buy-in greater because that adds novelty. So figure out a way to make collaborative conversations fun and different, maybe than how they've been previously. I know, let's see. Okay. Then I said to fishbowl or to model with the students. I think it's so fun for kids to show off. I mean, I don't think there's very many kids that don't get to love going up in front of the classroom and showing, say Carrie and Angela, say I'm a teacher and I'm formatively assessing. I'm walking around, I'm listening to collaborative conversations and they are rocking it. I mean, they are spot on, purposeful questions, purposeful answers. And I'm like, okay, guys, call it into your collaborative conversation. Maybe you can have a clue word or something that lets them know time's up. I got to brag on some kiddos in our class. Angela, Carrie, get to the front. I want you to replicate, show the kids. I want you to show them how you collaborated. What did you talk about? And let everyone see. Set that bar high. Let everybody see, what are we striving for? What should our collaborative conversations look like? And then fishbowl, if you don't know what a fishbowl is, it's nothing more than allowing your class to get up and they just form a fishbowl around the people that are modeling it well. So say Angela and Carrie again are doing great there at their desk and they're collaborating. Instead of having them go to the front of the classroom, it's just about letting kids get up and move. And we know that activates the brain. So we absolutely want to do that. So we have the class get up and they go stand around Angela and Carrie and they get to listen. And when you're when you're the fish, you do the talking. When you're fishbowl, you do the listening. So anyways, that's just kind of a fun thing for kids to do. Again, let them get up and move. All right, let's see. Oh, and I also was thinking about this. It's fun to allow kiddos to make an anchor chart, a collaborative conversation anchor chart, maybe on an index card when you're doing it initially. I know as a third grade teacher, that would have been something I would have liked my kiddos to do that because I'm the kind, if I write it down, it helps sink into my brain. So let them, and it's kind of a scaffold, right? They won't need it very long. And if they've done it before, that's fine. But you still may have different norms than the grade before you. So let them make that collaborative conversation anchor chart on an index card. And then again, they can take that with them when they're collaborating, just in case, they get off. And it's just a reminder of what you need to be focused on. And you'll have the anchor chart posted, but it's just a thought if you might want to have kids do that. So, okay, let's go to the next slide. And this just provides scaffolds because we know a lot of our kids, exactly what Angela was saying, there's not a lot of conversation happening. There may be more now that kiddos are home with their parents, but we know that collaborative conversations, we as teachers have to help model that, instill that within our kiddos because a lot of times parents are on their devices, kids are on their devices, and so there's not a lot of collaborative conversation happening. So we have to model and show them what that looks like. And if you use these sentence starters, you're basically setting your kiddos up for success. If they don't know how to respond to their partner, they can look up on a chart and you've made these together so they can think, oh yeah, I agree with blah, 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 because blah, blah, blah. And look at the next one, I disagree. Think about where we are in our society today. It's kind of not so great and we won't be here very long, I hope we move on, but there's a lot of disagreement and the way people respond isn't maybe always 100% respectful. And so at the end of the day, we want to make sure that kids are respectful. We want to make sure that disagreements are going to happen. And agreeing to disagree is very important for children, especially in a classroom. So we want to teach them, you might be, it's fine for lots of people to be right, even if they think things differently. So these are just wonderful anchor charts that you can make with your kiddos, again, like I said, to allow them to be successful. And if you do this enough, and you use these sentence starters as needed enough, they become part of kids' authentic language. When we're in classrooms, we hear this all the time. We hear kids say, I agree because of blah, blah, blah. And I disagree. And it's not, and to be honest, the anchor charts are down. They're not up anymore. I don't see them in the classrooms anymore. They're down. It's obviously they were up. They don't need them anymore. The kids, it's become part of their authentic language. So we absolutely want to, train kids. We want to train them to use academic language and to be respectful and to understand how to have a good conversation. All right. So basically, to sum it up, Collaborative conversations do great things for our kiddos, and that's our job. We want to do great things every single day, every single minute that we have our kiddos. No more sit and get. The old days, I don't know about y'all. Y'all are probably younger than me, but when I was being taught, my teacher was at the front of the classroom and I sat at my desk and did what I was supposed to do. When I started teaching, it was even like that. It's so exciting that it is no longer that. No more sit and get, no more spray and pray. We don't want to be boring. We want to actively engage our kiddos in the learning process. And that is exactly what we do using collaborative conversations. Collaborative conversations allow kiddos to get up and move, and we 100% know that movement activates the brain. So that's a stinking no-brainer. We don't want to skip that. Allows kiddos to be both learners and teachers. We've already talked about that. That's super important. We want to make sure we do that. So if you have 25 kids in your class, you add the teacher until you got 26 teachers. So at the end of the day, like I said, validate your kids. Tell them, you think you're a student? In my class, you're a teacher. Provide a safe environment for your kiddos. Like Angela said, she was an L when she started. She was monolingual. She did not speak any English. And she's told us, it was a little scary. We have a lot of kiddos like that. So we want to make sure we set them up for success. We give them confidence. We make them feel safe. That is big time our job. Then we are blessed in elementary. I'm sorry, secondary, you don't have this privilege. I'm so sorry. But Wonders offers approximately 24 prompts per week to encourage collaborative conversations. It was in Envision. I believe it's in our new math. So secondary, you may have prompts. I'm not totally aware, but there may be prompts as far as to collaborate, to encourage collaboration within your classroom in your TEs or in your resources. So just make sure that you allow lots of collaboration. And I'm gonna tell a quick story. So Dixie, I know, went to the high school. It was a couple years ago, and she taught a lesson, and she encouraged collaborative conversation in the classroom. And she said when she got ready to leave, the kids were like, "When are you coming back? Please don't leave," because they loved being allowed to collaborate because they hadn't been able to do that at that point. And really, I think some of these non-negotiables have been rolled out to the elementary. I don't think we've shared them with the high school. And maybe it happens in high school. I really don't know, but it is so cool getting to collaborate. We as adults love to collaborate. If we love it as adults, we have to know that kids love it. So make sure K through 12, we're allowing as much collaboration as we possibly can. And if we do our job in the elementary, if we elementary teachers do our job, secondary it's going to be smooth sailing for them because the kiddos are going to know how to collaborate. And then the last part, research proves that, guys, this is a no-brainer. It's visible. We have to do it. Teachers don't have to be the only ones sharing the information. And best of all, kids love it. So as Mr. Park says, teach smarter, not harder. And using collaborative conversations is definitely a fun and effective way to do just that.
Okay, now we'll go on to the anchor chart. Anchor charts are fun, like Kathy talked about. Have fun with your kids. It's a great way to interact with your students, but yet it's a very purposeful strategy. There's nothing better than getting your kids around you as a teacher and teaching them and sharing and letting them be engaged in something so fun. The purpose of an anchor chart, like Kathy said, it's for grades K through 12. It's non-negotiable for the district. And as she said, John Hattie, research, it has proven results. So anchor charts are a great strategy to use with the kiddos. They it anchors the children's learning. You want to make them visible. As you teach a lesson, you create a chart with your students. And Kathy talked about that too. Back in the days when we used to go to Mardell's and we would buy, and I was guilty, buy all the posters and laminate them and put them on the walls, and they were just so fun, but they were pretty. But we really didn't, the students did not have any ownership in them, so they really weren't effective like anchor charts. Anchor charts, you're going to sit with your students, you're going to teach a lesson, you're going to make the anchor chart with your kiddos, and then they have ownership. And then when you're through, you're going to put it on the wall or put it somewhere where the kids can use it as a reference and look back for. So, and it really anchors their learning. Also, the information doesn't get erased. You write on the board, you teach a lesson, and then the information's gone. But if you put it on an anchor chart, then you can take that information and you put it on the wall. And so Kathy was telling me at the beginning of the school year how really you should have lots of extra wall space whenever you're organizing your classroom. So to make room for your anchor charts that you put up. Okay, information, we talked about that, doesn't get erased. It organizes thoughts for teacher and students. This is very important. As we know as teachers, preparation is key. So before you even start an anchor chart, you want to already have those ideas organized in your brain as far as what you want to create with your students. And then it helps the students create organization when they engage with you. It's important for them to be involved because then they have ownership in what's being said and they're engaging and they're learning as you're teaching them. It also supports instruction. It's a visual tool that can help the students process the content and make sure they understand what you're teaching them. It makes prior and current learning accessible. So as you make these, like we talked about earlier, you want to have space somewhere to hang them in your room. They can also hang on top of each other. If you don't have a lot of space, you can stack them on top of each other as well. Anchor charts are not only academic. They can be used as a management tool for students to self-monitor their behavior by visually reminding them of expectations and routines, just like the collaborative conversation. There was your routine as far as what your expectations were in the classroom for that. It's a visible learning for parents, like Kathy said, not just for the class, the teacher and the students. It's also visible for parents. And then when principals walk into the classroom, they come in, they know, hey, that's what you're learning, and they can go and they can ask the kids about it. So it's just a good visual all around to keep. Okay, so how to get started. First of all, you need chart paper and markers. And if you don't have chart paper, see your principal, because I know in the elementary schools, the principals have been amazing on providing anchor charts or the posters for the kids.
And the warehouse has the ones that are like, they're not sticky.
The spiral
The
ones.
spiral ones. Yeah.
So those are two options that you do have. Make sure that there's a clear purpose, and you want to, like we talked about before, you want to pre-plan before you create them. It's very important to create with the students. Why is it important to create with the students, ladies?
Have ownership.
Yeah, their DNA is in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're more likely going to retain what they learned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want these to absolutely be interactive with them. Some helpful hints, of course, you want them to be colorful and legible. Color's pretty.
Of course, Carrie loves color.
You want to keep them simple and neat. For the little people, you may want to use illustrations. They're not able to read. So pictures, like Angela talked earlier, pictures for the little people are great. And then as far as you go up the academic, you might want to use more words. Don't overuse anchor charts. Anchor charts it's a great strategy and tool, but you don't feel like you have to make an anchor chart for every single thing that you teach. You want it to be the content that you really feel is most important for the students to remember and be able to reflect and use as a reference.
We also have a share that some will have them put in their, create them in their journal.
Yeah, that's where.
Interactive notebook.
That's so
where,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's where I think the next one was replicate in student journals. That's just what we talked about. And
Great idea.
Celia had put that in the chat
Yeah.
earlier, that she has her students put those in the notebook. And that's what we had here, replicate in student journals. That's a great idea for them to refer back to as well.
Yes, it's a great idea.
Get them started on note-taking skills.
Yes, and note-taking skills.
Well, and I think when you write something down, it just helps it sink into your brain better. So it's just smart.
Yes.
And then keep these displayed as long as necessary. If you have them in a journal, that's great. The students can go back and utilize and look at them, or they can go and look on wherever you have them stuck to the wall. And Kathy has a good story about one of her friends that she used to teach with that used a lot of anchor charts.
So this is just too funny. So the girl I taught across the hall from, she was retiring, and so she had cleaned off all her walls. They were just blank, and she hold on just a second. Shall I put this in? Anyway, and she her walls were blank. She was getting ready to retire, and she. You want to unmute? I am muted. So her walls were blank. She didn't have anything on the walls because she was getting ready to retire and it's time to take everything down. And so she said the last week, I don't know, towards the very end, she asked her students, she said, I would like you to write down about the 5 things that you remember learning, that you enjoyed learning about the most. And she said the walls are blank. And she said she watched, and the kids are writing, and they're looking at places on the wall. And she said there's nothing on the wall for them to see. But obviously, as she's telling me this, I'm thinking, well, you obviously used anchor charts very, very purposefully because your kids knew where they hung. Obviously, there was ownership in them. But it was just interesting. She said, I would never, ever, she goes, I saw that it was beneficial what I was teaching. But she said, I would have never believed that they were stuck into their brain that deeply, that when the walls were blank, they were able to remember that's, that was what they liked the most. And that's what they remembered about that specific, whatever it was that was appealing to them. So when she said that, I thought, oh my gosh, that is really cool. So I do think anchor charts work. They're the real deal.
So basically, it's just like hanging the students' work around the classroom is what you're doing.
Exactly.
Okay, the next one we have are some examples, and Pinterest and Google will be your best friend.
To get ideas.
To get ideas, not to make them and then laminate them and put them on the wall. You just want to get, like we talked about, you want to get your thoughts together and kind of see what you want it to visually look like before you make it with your students. But if you wanted an idea on nouns or verbs or cause and effect or whatever, you can get on Pinterest and Google, and they have some really great examples.
Because some people are super creative and can do that, but some people are not.
Right.
And even
I'm not creative at all. But I can look at someone and do it. Exactly.
I wonder some gives you ideas, even like I know they're graphic organizers, but some of those graphic organizers are really good just to use as recreating.
Yeah.
And if you look at these, you see how colorful they are, how neat they are, organized, their thoughts.
They don't have to be that perfect.
But they don't have to be perfect. No, they don't have to be perfect.
Because you're making them with the kids. That's
Because you're making
your
with the
writing might
kids.
not look as
Yes.
my
And that's what they don't have to be perfect. Absolutely. Okay, and so I would like to leave you with this before we leave on anchor charts. Anchor charting is the breadcrumbs of teaching. So everything you've taught, those are your crumbs left that are on the walls displayed for you to look at and the students use as a reference. So now we're going to play our dice game for anchor charts and collaborative. Oh, before we play the dice game, I wanted to refer back to the video real quick of the collaborative conversations. If you noticed Mrs. Baumgarter, how she used anchor charts in her classroom, how interactive those were with the kids. That she did a really good job of seeing that in person. So, okay, dice game. Question 2, and please answer these in your chat box. How can anchor charts benefit students' learning? Oh, there they go. Yay. Refer back to, picture help. Reminder, good visual. Visual is so important. They're used as a reference tool. Awesome. Stimulate. Oh, there's some good answers. You guys are so spot on.
They have it. They get
You
this.
get this. Number 6. What are some essentials when creating an anchor chart? Clear and organized. Chart paper markers. Bright colors. Ownership. Interactive. Ooh, good. Awesome. Number 1, how can anchor charts benefit students' learning? Visual support. Awesome. Reminders. Good job. Number 3, how do anchor charts make learning visible? Are you ready for that one?
People see what you're learning.
Yeah.
Walk in your classroom.
They're on the wall. Yep. Serve as a model. Yes. Yes. Good job. Number 4, why do students need to be included when creating an anchor chart? Ownership. Yes. Good job. Yep. It gets them involved. Absolutely. A clear reminder that they understand. Absolutely. Very good, Marisol. Number 5, why are collaborative conversations so important? Students can be teachers, help students process information, allows them to be heard.
See it in print. I mean, that's what you're saying. That's a great one.
Is that all of them? Oh, good job, guys. Now I'll pass you to Miss Wendy.
All right, thank you guys. I apologize for us going a few minutes over and starting a few minutes late. You gotta love technology sometimes. In your chat, I have put a link to the official sign-in form. If you will copy or click on that, copy and paste it, click on it, put it in your browser. There you can fill out that form, and that will be your official way to get paid for joining us today. If for some reason that link does not open, if you will email me and I will send it to you. That way, if something happens, you'll still get paid. So let me know if that link does not open for you. I will send it to you. If you are joining us this afternoon for Story Arc, that link should be fine. We tried to do it a little bit differently this morning so that you had to sign in so we could see that way who all was here. I think that's what messed up our link. I'm not doing that to Story Arc, so it should be fine this afternoon. If for some reason it does go a little bit weird like today's, I'll just resend a link like I did today. If you don't have any other questions, that's all we have for today. I'm going to leave this chat open for just a few more moments. I am going to mute all of us, so if you do try and say something to us, we cannot hear you. Oh, you should still have a copy of the slides. It should still be on your original invite that I sent you. But if for some reason you don't have that anymore, I will go ahead and re-email just this presentation. Any other questions? Are we good? Okay, I'm going to leave this on for just a few more minutes. Again, like I was saying, I am going to mute us so we cannot hear you. If you have something, please type it to us because you'll just see our faces and we won't be able to hear you. So I will type that link in one more time.
Thank you.
And if you need something, type. Don't say anything because I can't hear you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.